Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to The Last Lap. In today's video we're going to be recapping everything that happened from Phoenix Raceway this past weekend, including the Xfinity and the Cup Series race. If you guys are new to the channel and have not hit that subscribe button, we would greatly appreciate it if you did, along with that like button and little notification bell as well. That lets you know every time we upload a new video. And you can also check us out on our social media pages at The Last Lap News. And as always, I have my friend and co-host Matthew joining me on the show, and he's back home for once, so you guys get to see a little bit of a different background for him. So, Matthew, how's it feel to be back home for a little bit, and how you feeling post-Phoenix?
Well, it's great to be back home, and yeah, it's I'll be here for a couple days for spring break, and then I'm heading down to Charlotte for the weekend, so that's gonna be fun. But I want to know how you doing today, Jimmy. You doing good? Hey, you must be happy here. Chase won. Chase won. Can you believe it? Oh, and don't even dare say anything to me, because you were getting on me all last weekend. So, man, and plus you all race long today. All I heard was Chase Elliott was the best car today. Chase Elliott had the best pit stop. That is until the most important pit stop. Oh, man. But
Chase did not have the best car today. Chase Elliott did not have the best car today. I never said that. I don't know what you're talking about. I said he had good pit stops.
You were talking
I did
about,
not say he had the best car.
This man right here was talking about how it was big. It was like Wendy's. It was like getting like Wendy's here, 4 for 4. Next thing you know, he started choking on the Wendy's.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm eating my own words on that one. So I tried to be clever with the Wendy's joke and all that kind of stuff, but unfortunately that backfired on me. But oh well.
Okay.
Yeah, this is 3 weeks in a row where one of us has been going after the other because our drivers have had terrible luck the past 3 weeks. But hopefully both our drivers could turn it around, and hopefully we could be enjoying each other's success instead of making fun of each other's failure at this point. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the Xfinity race, and then we'll hop into the Cup race as well. So Noah Gragson ended up taking the win in the Xfinity Series. It did not come easily, though. He had to fight his teammate Justin Allgaier all day, who unfortunately had his penalty on pit road late in the race, which cost him a chance. And Noah Gragson had to pass Brandon Jones after green flag pit stops, because Brandon Jones overtook the lead. He pitted a few laps earlier than Noah Gragson, and he had to run Brandon Jones back down and ended up passing him with about 10-15 laps to go. And he would go on to win, so very cool for Noah Gragson to get his first win of the season. I believe he's finished top 3 in every race in the Xfinity Series so far this season, so great start to the year for him. Finishing in the top 3, top 5 every race so far, and finally getting that win to start off the season. And he did an incredible celebration. I always love Noah Gragson's burnouts, and he climbs the fence and all that kind of stuff. We got to witness that at Richmond and Martinsville last year in the fall, so always cool to see Noah Gragson win. He's got a really cool personality, really hyped up, high energy kind of guy. So very cool to see him get the win in the Xfinity Series. So Matthew, what do you quickly have to say about the Xfinity Series before we hop into?
Well, it was only a matter of time till Noah Gragson won, so I'm glad he was able to win. I think he's going to be a championship forward contender again. Besides that, nothing really much happened. I mean, especially the third stage, it was really forgettable, to be honest. I mean, the only part I remember was that probably the second best car that race, Justin Allgaier, got penalized, so that basically kind of gave Gragson the win there. So I mean, congratulations to Gragson, and can't wait to see how he does the rest of the season.
Alright, so let's talk about the Cup race now. And once again, there were no shortage of headlines throughout this race. Early in the race, Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney, they both sped on pit road during the competition caution. They seemed like Blaney in the first stage seemed like the car to beat, but he sped on pit road. He fought his way back through traffic pretty easily, so I thought he was going to be a contender throughout the whole day. We had another wheel situation. Corey Lejoy lost a wheel. There wasn't such a really good replay on it, so we're not really sure if the tire went flat or if the tire came off, if the tire was loose and then he hit the wall and it came off. We're not 100% sure. The replay wasn't the best on it. Thanks Fox Sports, by the way, for that. So there may or may not be a penalty on that, depending on what NASCAR thinks. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a penalty, but I also wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't. The tire came off, but we're not really sure why it came off. So that happened. William Byron ended up winning Stage 1 after capitalizing on Ryan Blaney's speeding penalty. William Byron ended up winning the first stage. Christopher Bell spun in Stage 2 and ended up blowing a tire, and that cost him at least 1 or 2 laps. He got lapped a few times because of that. And Stage 2 went to Ryan Blaney. He ended up fighting his way back through the field and ended up winning Stage 2. And at this point, like I said, Ryan Blaney looked like the car to beat. Kevin Harvick, he was up there. He looked like he was running well, surprisingly. Well, I don't want to say surprisingly. He's been really good at Phoenix. Kevin Harvick hasn't been a huge contender last year or this year for the most part, so a little bit surprising to see Kevin Harvick up there, but I believe he finished second or third in that stage. Heading in Stage 3, though, Martin Truex Jr. ended up wrecking. It seemed like he lost control of his car coming off of Turn 2 and hit the wall pretty hard. Ended his day right there. Kyle Larson had some engine issues, unfortunately, so he had to end his day early. That was a huge blow to my fantasy lineup because I had both of them in my lineup and they both had issues, so it was a big hit for me. And then Mr. Eric Jones decided to make another appearance. But before this, though, Chase Briscoe seemingly came out of nowhere and had control of the lead of the race at this point. And Chase Elliott was behind him in second place. He caught him. He got the gap to about half a second, but he couldn't really pass him. And that seemed like the thing in today's race, especially with the first few cars, the first second place car. Like, you could catch the leader, but it was really hard to pass because the outside lane with the resin, that was just a lane to go. And it was pretty hard to pass on the bottom of the racetrack. So Chase Elliott caught Chase Briscoe, couldn't really pass him. But Eric Jones decided to make another appearance, like I said, and spin out late in the race. And he spun out with 26 laps to go. And everybody came down pit road and pitted because it was quite a long green flag run at that point, I believe. And Chase Briscoe's crew ended up coming out first. And that's where I started eating my words because Chase Elliott before that had 4 pit stops where he came out first. And yeah, he had a bad pit stop, came out 6th, I believe, at that point. So at that rate, yeah, it was pretty much over for Chase Elliott. But there was a restart with 20 laps to go. Chase Briscoe and Kevin Harvick were on the front row, and Briscoe got up to a pretty good lead, and Ross Chastain made a pretty aggressive move. Tyler Reddick was in the mix as well. And then with, I think it was inside 10 laps to go, Chase Elliott spun out, and yeah, that just put the icing on the cake for that day. But that set up another restart with 3 laps to go. And Chase Briscoe, Tyler Reddick, and Ross Chastain started first, second, and third. All 3 of these drivers going for their first win of their career. And Chase Briscoe ended up getting a very good restart. And he was just gone. He just took off, and nobody could catch him. So Chase Briscoe ended up getting his first career win at Phoenix. And my quick reaction to this is Chase Briscoe is such a nice guy. I love the guy. Has a really humble personality. Has a long history in the sport. Been through a lot of ups and downs in his racing career as well as his life as well. So I saw a video on Dale Jr. Download. Dale Jr. interviewed Chase Briscoe and gave his whole life story and everything. So ever since that, I've been a huge fan of Chase Briscoe. I'm happy for him to get his first career win the way he did too. And as for the next gen car and all that kind of stuff, it seems like again we couldn't really tell who we could tell who was dominant through certain parts of the race, but it seemed like different drivers came into contention throughout the race. So today, Ryan Blaney seemed like he had the best car in the first and second stage. Chase Elliott was strong most of the day. And then Chase Briscoe kind of comes out of nowhere in that third stage and takes the lead, and nobody could pass him. So kind of like last week, how Ross Chastain was pretty much the strongest car in the field, and then Kyle Busch and Martin Truex came out pretty late and ended up, running pretty well. So I like that. I like how we go into the race, and throughout the race we see this driver run really good, and then we see a few more drivers get better throughout the race and get in contention for the win. So fantastic for Chase Briscoe. I love the guy. I'm happy for him to get his first career win. And yeah, that's my thoughts on the race. So Matthew, go ahead and tell everybody what you got to think about the race at Phoenix.
Well, for this race at Phoenix, this was coming into this race. We didn't know how good this race was gonna be, considering over the years it really hasn't been like the best track. I mean, I don't think it's worthy enough for a championship race, in my opinion. Just because of the first two times we've seen this race in the championship race, I don't remember much of it besides who won the championship. But I will say this race though, with these cars, they made the race a little bit better. I mean, not really that much, but just a teeny bit better. I think they need to put resin or whatever that stuff is on the bottom lane, so you can have two lanes instead of having that one high lane, which is a big factor to why you can't pass today. But you can't pass with these cars. I just I wish I wish they would like make, you know, another resin lane basically on the bottom lane instead of having just on the top. But other than that, it was still a good race. I wouldn't say it was good as Vegas or Auto Club or Daytona, but it was still good enough. I mean, that's my opinion. It was Ryan Blaney. He looked like he has a strong car, but his pit crew absolutely sold, especially for a couple times, especially with speeding and then messing up on the pit stops. Chase Elliott was up there most of the day, so his pit crew sold on the money stop. And then Chase Briscoe, he was in the top 10 most of the day, but he really came out front like towards the end, and he basically had that good speed there. So it was great to see Chase Briscoe win his first Cup race. Unfortunately for last year, he basically came in as a rookie at a very bad time when Stewart-Haas Racing was absolutely terrible. And the only race he was really contention for the win was Indy Road Course. And so far, this year, with this next-gen car, he's really been up front for most of these. So I'm happy to see he's finally getting that success. If he starts winning more races, that means that's more pressure on Cole Custer, because sure, he won as a rookie, but other than that, he hasn't done anything since. So I think more pressure is going to be on Cole Custer if Chase Briscoe ends up winning more races this year. But I think we're going to see more first-time winners this season, especially Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain. So far, they have had amazing starts to the year. Well, Ross Chastain, he had a couple bad luck races, but before he had some bad luck, he was basically up front for most of the time. So I think those two especially are going to win their first races this year. Maybe we'll see more. I'm not sure, but those are the two other non-Cup winners that I think they're going to win their first race. So I can't wait to see how the rest of the year goes with first-time winners. But overall, it was a decent race. I wouldn't say it was the best. I wouldn't say it was the best race of the year. Duh. I think it's so far been the least great race so far. But I mean, that's just Phoenix. I mean, Phoenix, Richmond, Dover, they're all similar in terms of the races are hit or miss, basically. So I mean, maybe they'll do something different for the championship race. Put resin on the bottom lane and the top lane. There you have it, two groups, instead of having that one lane, which makes it harder to pass. So that's just my opinion. And yeah, congrats to Chase Briscoe. First Cup win. The first 4 races, 2 of them have been first-time winners. So we'll see if we'll keep it up in Atlanta, especially with how unpredictable that race is going to be.
Yeah, I didn't really, the one lane with the resin, it just made it so hard to pass. Like most especially near the end of the race too. Everybody was just hugging that outside lane, especially in turns 1 and 2. In turns 3 and 4, we saw drivers experiment a tiny bit, but yeah, hopefully they can adjust that for the championship race in November. And yeah, like you said about the first-time winners, that's 2 first-time winners in the first 4 races. This might be the first year we reach over 16 winners in this playoff format, so that'll be interesting for sure, especially with, Chase Briscoe getting a win. Austin Cindric, I kind of expected to be in the playoffs anyways, but yeah, we might see a few more first-time winners, especially Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick. They've looked very strong these first few races, and we have a long way to go in the schedule too, so we could see several other different drivers get their first career win, or some drivers we usually don't expect to win get a win. So yeah, I love this. Is the next gen car at its finest. This is what everybody wanted. Everybody wanted parity in this sport where all these different teams could be somewhat equal, and that's been the case so far. We've had 2 Fords win, first time winners. We've had 2 Hendrick Motorsports cars win, so it's been kind of all over the place so far, and I'm looking forward to see how the rest of the season goes. Let's really quick go over the top 10, and then we'll hop into our ratings for the race. So Chase Briscoe getting the win, obviously. Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick finished 2nd and 3rd. Ryan Blaney ended up bouncing back to 4th place. Kurt Busch somehow snuck into the top 5. I don't know how he finished 5th. All the Toyotas were outside the top 10 for most of the day, and Kurt Busch just kind of snuck in there at the end and finished 5th. So, very good finish for him. Kevin Harvick ended up finishing 6th. Kyle Busch finished 7th. Another Toyota just kind of coming out of nowhere, finishing 7th.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, Kyle Busch finished 7th.
We were terrible all day long.
I don't know.
And somehow we finished top 10.
Well, a few drivers did have some issues late in the race.
Toyota was an absolute
the Toyotas were kind of all over the place. But yeah, Kyle Busch ended up finishing 7th. Joey Logano finished 8th. Daniel Suarez 9th. Great run for him. And Chris Buescher finished 10th. Somehow, I don't know what. The last 20 laps of this race were kind of weird. I don't know where some of these guys came from, but yeah, Chris Buescher somehow finished 10th.
Chris Buescher finished top 10. The worst Keselowski did. Brad
Keselowski he went a few laps down. He went at least 1 lap down, if not more. RFK was just. I'm pretty disappointed in RFK racing right now. Besides Daytona, other than that, they have not really performed that well. So, yeah, they definitely have some work to do. But yeah, that's it for the top 10. We'll go ahead and rate this race, give our fantasy points, and then we'll get up out of here. So, for me, I think I'm gonna give this race. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Obviously, wasn't as good as Las Vegas and Auto Club, and obviously the Daytona 500 too. Weren't that many cautions. The drivers didn't have to seem too much of an issue driving the car today, so not really. Well, there were a few instances where people got loose and hit the wall, like Martin Truex and stuff, but other than that, nothing too crazy. Couldn't really pass with the resin on the top lane. The restarts were intense as always, with the dog leg, they can go 5, 6, 7 wide, all that kind of stuff. And if it wasn't for Eric Jones spoiling the party 2 weeks in a row, we wouldn't have really gotten a good finish. So for all those reasons, I'm going to go ahead and give this race a 6 out of 10. So Matthew, what are you going to go ahead and rate this race?
Well, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10 as well. I thought it was a little bit better than the past few Phoenix races, but not really by that much. But that resin just ruined everything, in my opinion. You can't pass at all, no matter how fast your car is. I feel like Elliott could have passed Briscoe there, but he couldn't because of that because you couldn't do the bottom lane because that resin just gives you such a powerful run on the top. So, that's the part that I didn't like at all. But other than that, it was still a decent race. So I'll give it 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it was tough when you could tell that a car was faster than the car in front of them, but they couldn't pass because the resin was just so strong in the top lane. Yeah, hopefully that gets updated for the championship race because we don't really want to see that in the championship race, so we'll see. But hopping into our fantasy update as well, you absolutely killed it today. You got 230 points. You were first place out of the 5 of us in the league, so congrats to you for getting those points today. I did terrible because I had Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Larson, and both of them had issues in the race. So I only got 132 points. So that brings our total points together. You have 687, and I have 717. So all the way down to a 30-point gap after last week. So yeah, still a long way to go, but you are right back in contention. We're going to be heading into Atlanta next week, and that's completely unpredictable, so that could shake up our fantasy standings even more. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for that. Do you have any other closing thoughts before we go ahead and wrap the episode up?
Not really. I'm ready to go to bed.
Alright, well, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully there's some brighter days ahead for both of us, for both of our drivers, as the past 3 weeks have not been the best. So hopefully we can enjoy some successes for our drivers instead of some failures. But yeah, next week we'll be in Atlanta. Very unpredictable race there with the new construction configuration of it. So make sure you guys stay tuned for our predictions video. That'll come out later this week. But until next time, we will see you guys in our next video.